Yes, sir.
Hey, what up, man?
What's going on, JG?
We are glad to have you on the show, Coach Hunter. Word.
Hey, glad to be here talking ball, baby.
I know there's been some things on defense that you were pretty happy with. I know Downhill has been absolutely knocking guys out, but in general,
Yeah, I mean this
what's been troubling this
this game's
defense?
tailor made for him. So
What is messing up this
two
defense right
things.
now? Yeah, go ahead.
Two things I noticed. First half, Kentucky's doing a really awesome job with their formations, and they're running it. You know what up front you call the bubble, where you've got a one technique and a five technique to the same side. So you got a nose, nobody in the B gap at the point of attack, and then the five tech. And they're getting a lot of movement at that nose position, so it's creating a really big gap right there for a linebacker to have to come down and fit on those big running backs in big gaps. Papo, when he's been inside, his run fits have been inconsistent. He's sticking. If you pay attention, he's running, and he's really sticking to the offensive lineman instead of attacking a gap and hitting the outside shoulder. Looks like he's just not quite comfortable that tight inside the box yet. But again, it goes back to formations. Kentucky's doing a great job formation in Auburn to get looks they want. And the other thing that's confused me is the insistence on being cover zero and bringing the house on third and long. I think Auburn's good enough in the secondary against a Kentucky receiving core that's not that great. I don't think you have to do that. I think you can sit back, play coverage, and get a stop right there. And that's burn Auburn twice on the screen pass and the post
Yeah.
over the middle on that last big third down conversion.
And screen pass, you kind of find that more as the call because I thought Sherwood was in position to make that play, Hunter, and then he didn't. But if you see it differently, I would defer to you on that.
On the long screen pass, I mean, he was in. They got a blocker out there. Did a really good job
He
picking
did.
him up in space, and they ran cleared everybody else out vertically. So it's really you got one guy and a whole lot of grass to make a play, and if they get a blocker out there, it can be troublesome.
All right. So a little more cover zero, a little more bandit than maybe you would feel comfortable with, right?
Especially on third and 10 plus. Especially on third and 10 plus. And I think it looks like Hall's done a pretty good job on his end of getting pressure on third and long. I mean, they had to hold him one time that resulted in a big penalty to kind of set a drive back.
Yeah.
For a little bit, but Kentucky kept moving right there. Hadn't really gotten anything from the other end spot, man. 45, complete non-factor in the game. He so far he doesn't even belong amongst that D-line group. So that depth and personnel is a little concerning right now. I know there's some guys out and some guys banged up. Hopefully that group gets a little stronger
Yeah, and
as the weeks go on.
TD's wearing number 99 now. It's like when he's coming off the outside, he just gets way too much depth, and he just runs himself out of the play,
It's straight up field, man. He's playing like a really young player that doesn't understand the edge concept.
Yeah. Anything stick out to you on offense? Things that's bothering Auburn's offense?
What one thing I love is that you're seeing pass concepts with multiple levels. You're seeing where they're attacking the defense on three tiers. You'll have a shallow route, an intermediate route, and a deep route. Just opening up options for Nicks to throw. Conversely, Kentucky's completely winning the line of scrimmage battle right there. They're playing mostly that tight front, crashing down with those four eyes, eating up a double team inside. Linebackers running through because Auburn's OL aren't able to get off the double teams. And so Auburn hadn't been able to establish anything other than a few Bo Nix keeps and one really good run by Shivers, but nothing consistent in the ground game. I do think, though, that the play action crossing patterns are going to continue to be there just because of the way the defense is set up. That's looked really good so far on several occasions.
Yeah, and Bo hit Seth on a really good. I think it was three levels there where they were kind of dragging, mid, low, mid, high, and it was just tough to defend.
Yeah, it was, man. They brought I think it was Deal across the field underneath, and then Seth at the level behind that, and they had a post over the top of it. That's tough, especially coming off play action, going all the way back across the other side of the field.
Defensive line, Auburn's defensive line. I mean, you talked about 45 not having a great game, Moultrie not having a great game, but do you think? I mean, what letter grade would you give them so far?
Some of the guys are playing, B plus ball. I think Newkirk's having a pretty good game. I think Hall's having a pretty good game. They've rotated a lot of other bodies outside those two. Truesdale's been solid in what he's asked to do. Thought he did a great job on the quarterback sneak right there.
He did.
Completely stopping all movement on the goal line. That was a Haas play, and but he really helped make right there. Yeah, I don't know, man. As collectively as a group, I'd probably give them a C right now.
Okay.
Because it's just unbalanced. You got a couple guys playing real well and a couple guys playing really bad.
And then linebackers, I think, have been pretty good. I mean, because Kobe had a great stand-up hit at the goal line. KJ's had some licks too.
Yeah. I'd like to see Papo clean up his run fits a little bit. He's playing fast. Dude's freaky fast. He's just got to make sure he doesn't stick to those big offensive linemen because he's not going to win that battle.
Yeah.
When you come flying downhill and you chest up a guy that's 340, that's not favorable.
And then the targeting call, was that pretty open and shut for you? The one against Derek Hall on the run back?
I want to say expletive words because I don't agree with that call.
Okay.
I don't think it was personally, I don't think it was violent enough to call it targeting. Yeah, he was up high, but he didn't leave his feet. He didn't make himself a projectile. I disagree with the call.
Yeah.
But again, that just may be my football bias.
It was a hell of a lick though, because he took out two guys that were, potential problems in that. Yeah.
And I thought it was a great hustle play, for him to get out in front of that, two guys that had a chance to make a play. And I didn't think it was malicious enough for that, to be a targeting call and an ejection. Overturns a touchdown, gets a kid ejected. That's got to be a malicious call a malicious play in my opinion to warrant that, because that's huge.
Yeah.
I do think there may have been a little bit of retribution in that call because of the review on the first Kentucky red zone play.
Yeah, which looked like a touchdown to me, but yeah.
It was weird because I thought his knee hit the ground, but then they spotted it inside the one, so that's obviously not what they were looking at.
Yeah.
If they were looking at the knee, they would have spotted it back at about the 2. So I think there was officials sometimes make makeup calls, payback calls, and I think there might have been a little bit of that in the targeting call.
All right, so I know you think that some of these play action passes can help them. Do you think they're going to try to reestablish this run, or at this point would you just kind of say, hey, we're going to get what we can get, and we're going to try to accentuate the pass game?
They need to work backwards, throw to set up the run. Try to get those linebackers out of the box a little more. Don't let them creep down on the weak side away from the set and run through. That last 4th and 1, that was just a complete run through by Square on the backside. Left guard stayed locked up on the nose. Tackle turned out. He shot through the gap on the backside. Nobody picked him up. Need to just do some things to make those linebackers hold their water a little more.
Yeah.
Slants, stick routes, anything inside coming fast. It'll make them have to sit there for just another half second.
Yeah. It looks like Auburn's been running on offense many more compressed sets than we've seen before, like when Gus was running it, a lot of tight stuff. What does that do to a defense? Is that tougher for a defense to defend?
Without a doubt, man. That's compressed sets have become the offensive devil of football. Because they do now, the spread put football in space, and now they condense it down and make all the space work outside. So you're having to double the number of force and leverage players that you've got to the outside, which in turn, even though it's compressed, softens your box up on the inside. And it opens a lot of windows, and it can create a lot of alignment issues. It can create coverage leverage issues. If you're in the wrong leverage and bite on the route too far to the inside, you're dead. You don't have any outside help because the sideline's so far away.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like to see that, man, because just as a defensive guy, I hate them. I hate compressed sets.
Hunter, man, you are absolutely a font of information. We love having you. I don't know, have you been on the show before? Maybe once?
Once. I think I called in once a couple months ago.
Word.
So,
all right. We love having you
glad
on.
to be here, man. Seems like it's got a great following. Everybody has a lot of fun.
Hell yeah. And you being here and doing the Know the Enemy is great stuff, too. Everybody loves that stuff.
I just like to talk football, man.
I know you do. Yeah. And you love to play it. Back in the day, you were a bad son of a bitch.
I was tough. I wasn't very athletic, but I was tough.
You were tough. All right, Hunter. Appreciate you, brother.
Hey, man. War Eagle. I'll talk to you after the game, Jake.
All right. See you, man.
All right, brother. Big win they pulled out right there, man.
Yeah, that second half went a whole lot different than the first half, didn't it?
Sure did.
Let's talk about that. First things first, you were disappointed or you were surprised by the way they were handling third downs defensively. You thought they were being too gambling too much, and they changed that up a lot in the second half.
They did, man. Came out, played a lot more zone, kept the box tight so they weren't conceding, runs. They could get 5 to 7 yards and convert. Good adjustment. Really good second half adjustment. And number 3, man, young guy coming on the D-line, played really well in the second half. I was impressed.
Yeah, that is Zeke Walker, Zykevious Walker.
Yeah.
He's a big boy.
And, he is, man. And he looked a lot like, he had some things that make you think of the old number 3. So.
Interesting. Also, you said that you thought Auburn needed to go ahead and continue throwing to set up the run, and although I don't think they ran very effectively today, they certainly were passing pretty effectively.
They kept pushing the ball downfield. I'm very impressed with Seth Williams. He was an absolute dude today, especially in the red zone. Screen game looked good as the game progressed. Surprised they didn't try to, even force it a little more to number 1 in that, but Kentucky seemed like they were bracketing over the top of Schwartz to make sure that didn't happen a lot. Which is one of the things I think opened Williams up and Stove up on some of those screens. Were good. I thought I liked the way Bigsby ran the ball. For a freshman kid, he's got really good body lean in the forward burst. I think him getting more touches as the season goes on is going to be a big deal.
Yeah, you look, his numbers really weren't that good, but I thought he was the best of the 3 just from eyeballing it. I mean, he just looked like he had quickness and a jump to him that the other guys didn't.
Agree completely. Like he's already in second gear when he gets his hands on it. And he's falling forward for a good 45-degree tilt when he's running, low center of gravity, strong leg drive. A lot like Trey Mason, really.
Ooh, he's a good one.
I don't know that he's going to, you don't ever want to prognosticate somebody's going to get that level of production when they're a true freshman. But just as far as the way he carries the ball and what you see, I could definitely see some similarities there.
Your general takeaways, let's go on both sides of the ball. Just kind of first on defense. I mean, I know they got better in the second half, but, how do you feel about what they have on defense right now?
D-line's going to have to settle in, continue to build depth, get better at some little things. You got to have some more guys step up. 99's got to get better. 45's got to get better. Having 29 for a full game, having a healthy big cat, all those things are going to help. Getting the junior college guys healthy and ready to play to add more depth to that. All that's going to be, things that help them improve. And I think they can be an upper half of the SEC caliber D-line. They're not going to match last year's ability just because they don't have 2, generational dudes right there. But they got a chance to be good and plenty good enough to win a lot of ball games. Linebacker play is good. Secondary play was pretty solid today, other than Tut losing leverage on the slant in the red zone.
Yeah.
That's you're down there in the red zone. That's the one thing you can't concede. You've got to make the ball go outward. Yeah.
It just seemed it seemed like his alignment. He was aligned like too far outside or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah. He needs to be at worst chest to chest with that receiver, if not bracketing the inside foot, make him run through his body if he's going to try to attack the middle of that slant.
Yeah. But they still, let's see, they turned away the ball at the goal line, which ended up being messed up because of the targeting hit. They didn't get the touchdown of it, but they still wrecked what would have been a UK scoring drive, and then they also got the fumble that wrecked another important drive for UK.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were aggressive attacking the football too. 3 forced turnovers in the second half. That's big. You win the turnover battle in a game like that. That's a dirty blue collar in the trenches game. That's usually what predicates the outcome. And so that was good to see. And played with great effort. It never seemed like they got truly frustrated all the way through. They answered the bell, continued to play hard, continued to make adjustments.
And offensively, your thoughts on what this team can be? I mean, I just don't know if they have the offensive line to really force a running game on the good teams,
That's it. That's question number 1, issue number 1. It's what we've all known over the course of the offseason, is that the potential of this offense is going to be limited by the offensive line. How far they can progress will determine how high that ceiling really is. And not everybody's going to be as stout up front as Kentucky was. Not everybody's going to be willing to roll the dice, load the box, and play as much one-on-one, which ultimately hurt Kentucky. A lot of people aren't going to want to match up 18 one-on-one a whole lot.
No.
And, especially not after today, even further. But there's enough perimeter weapons, and I think Morris, as this offense progresses and he's able to diversify touches, and has a better feel for his guys on Saturday, what they can do, what they can't do, that they can still move the ball, without being able to ground and pound for 200 yards like like the best Malzahn teams have always been able to do.
Yeah.
And hopefully that'll have an inverse effect. And if they can start spreading it out and touching it more, they'll see a lot more, 5 and 6 man boxes on the inside. And that's when your run game gets going.
They may not be there, but we'll see if they can. Alec Jackson to me at left tackle. I don't know, man. He got pushed back a bunch today. I don't know.
He did. He, I'm hoping, I'm chalking it up to being really tight, being really tense, and not cutting loose with that athletic ability that he's got. Because he is a big, strong, athletic kid, and always has been. And you want to see him come off, throw hands, and drive people. Just being an athlete right there at left tackle, even if he's not, fundamentally sound in the nuances of it. But yeah, he got moved a lot today. There was a lot of negative push on his side, and interior wasn't really great either. I mean, they didn't really give up any plays on the inside, but did not get any movement.
I don't know if there's a short-term solution to that problem right there.
No, there's not a short-term solution. It's got to be, progress as much as you can every single day at practice.
Yeah. Continue
to get better, continue to make every rep count, and try to improve. I thought Nix looked really good most of the time. He's still got that bad habit of fleeing the pocket when he doesn't need to at times and throwing off of his back foot, leaning back, getting himself into kind of awkward positions when it's not necessary. And you see him do the opposite. He threw a 12-yard out route to Stove with somebody wrapped around his legs.
Yeah, it was a hell of a play.
Right up in the pocket, took a shot, and threw a dime.
It was great.
And I mean, he's perfectly capable of doing that. Hopefully you see his confidence progress and willingness to do that progress.
And he knows this. He knows the score with Seth. I mean, if you put the ball above his head, let him compete, he's going to help you most of the time.
That's it, baby. Put that thing at 11.5 foot and let 18 go get it.
Can this team, based on what we've seen today, do you think this team can beat Georgia?
Yes, I think they can. And I don't think – I say that. I think Georgia being unsettled at their quarterback spot, I think that there will be some opportunities for defensive takeaways and that they'll be limited in their new offense with a new quarterback. And I don't think they'll be able to freeze the ball and shrink the game as much as Kentucky did. So if Auburn can avoid the big plays, not letting Pickens or one of those guys get downfield frequently behind the secondary or letting a big run pop, then they've got a really good chance.
All right. People will love hearing that because you generally keep it straight. You're not a sunshine pumper. You tell it like it is.
I mean, I'm a little bit of a homer, but I feel like I'm an objective homer.
All right. Hunter, you're an absolute treasure to have at auburnsports.com, and we appreciate you coming on, brother.
Hey, cheers, brother. I appreciate it. War Eagle.
See you, man.
Jay Tate, what's going on?
My man, what's up, J-Head?
Living the dream. How about you celebrating that win? It's always nice to start off the season with a big dub.
Hell yeah, I'm about to drink a little bit of bourbon in honor of that one.
I don't blame you.
Some concerning things going on in that game, though, but Auburn was definitely the better team in the second half by a good stretch and created the turnovers and made the most of them.
I agree. And look, you always expect hiccups in the first game. I don't think there's anything that somebody should be truly concerned about. I think probably the most glaring weaknesses to me were the inconsistencies on the offensive line from a running game standpoint. You'd have liked to have seen more continuity. But when you have as many people that have been out due to COVID and not being able to have the consistency in practice that you need, you're going to have hiccups like that. What I liked from Chad was the adjustments that he made, the tweaks that he made in certain play calls that he was making, and the adjustments that we made in the second half to get guys open and in space. So that was good. Obviously, defensively, I think the lack of a pass rush limited us. Some of that was due to Derek Hall being taken out on what I would say questionable targeting call.
Yeah.
Other parts of it were I don't think that we tried to get overly exotic and tried to keep things as basic as we could in the first game so that we don't expose ourselves to what we might do against Georgia. All in all, I think it was a really good game. I was very impressed by the play of Jalen Simpson as a redshirt freshman to come in. I didn't think there was a bit of drop-off between him and Javaris Davis from last season. And it surprised me. I don't think from a defensive line standpoint we got the push that I would like to have seen, but that's a really seasoned and veteran offensive line.
It is.
So all in all, like I said, I don't think you can walk away from a 15-point victory against a number 23 team in the country and not feel good about it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the way the second half unfolded. I mean, the defense just kind of tightened up, particularly on third down. Thought the tackling was good. Thought the intensity was good. They created turnovers. And I thought the offense, I mean, even though they couldn't run the football very effectively, Bo Nix was smart. And those wide receivers, particularly Seth, man, they're a pain in the ass.
I completely agree, Jay. And, of course, there was nothing sweeter than that fade pattern he caught in the end zone against the transfer from LSU, former five-star player, and then pimping him by throwing him out of bounds after he got done.
Yeah.
I thought that was fantastic.
That was crazy.
Seth's got to keep his head on straight, but he's going to have a monster year if he does. I think we got to figure out a way against Georgia to get Schwartz a little bit more involved in the scene. But once again, I think Chad didn't want to overplay his hand because you've got such a big game next week. You wanted to do what you needed to do to get out of this game, make some explosive plays down the field, get you guys, do what you need to win, but don't overplay your hand. And obviously, I think the biggest jump that you're ever going to have for a football team is from week 1 to week 2.
Yeah.
Because now you've been exposed, you've been in a game environment. You have things that you can put on tape that you can see, okay, tangibly, this is what we can do better next week. This is where we can clean up. These are the adjustments that we need to make. So, I'm with you 100%. It's a good win. That's a tough team. It's number 23 team in the country. We obviously, including most of the national pundits, had picked Kentucky as an upset. The fact that we came out and we overplayed the spread, I think that speaks about the depth of this football team and, the character of this football team to come out, like you said, after playing a lackluster first half, and really coming out and putting the screws in the second half, very similar to what we did against Oregon last year.
It was a really good first game, though. I mean, if this first half was upsetting, but, for Auburn folks to say, God, is this the best we got? But, 8-7 at halftime had that Mississippi State feel, but, they came out.
Oh, God. What is it, 2-3 game?
Yes. It was just a stalemate, but, it came out in the second half, and I thought Kevin Steele did an awesome job of changing up some things, and that set the tone,
He really did. I thought Kevin made some nice schematic changes, specifically with the personnel that he put on the field. I think we were overplaying our run fits to a degree, kind of outrunning things is what I could tell, outflanking ourselves. We slowed guys down. We put guys in a little bit better position. Defensively up front, it looked like we moved to kind of some shade technique a little bit. And, I thought that we played in the gaps a lot better and held the gap a lot better.
Yeah.
And, of course, I loved it when, Terry Wilson's a good football player. He really is.
He is. But
I knew he was going to get tired of getting hit at some point. And he finally got tired of getting hit and gave up a monster fumble for us to go ahead for that last touchdown.
Yeah, that was a big play, man, because Kentucky was still in the game at that point. But
yeah, still in the game, making some progress down the field. And, of course, Sherwood got the strip. And I don't know, I think it was Tut that just absolutely blasted him as soon as the ball came out. And he just wasn't the same after that.
Yeah.
So I really liked the opportunistic side of the defense. I thought Roger made a beautiful play on the ball on that interception. There were some. I watched Roger. Sometimes he's not as physical against the run as I would like him to be at times, but I think that's an opening game. But as far as a pure coverage corner, and I've heard Coach Adams say this before, he might be the best pure cover corner we've had since Carlos Rogers. He's got that kind of potential. He just needs to get himself more game reps and more game exposure.
I thought he and Jalen played really well. Tut played well, like you mentioned. They just were out there hitting, man. Everybody was hitting, and that's
they were. I thought Smoke overran some things. I don't want to be overly critical of him because I have in the past. But Monday is going to have to shore some things up. Specifically, he's going to play in that free safety role. I know there's going to be heavy play action next week with Georgia just because of the backs they got in the backfield, and we can't afford for him to play, to bite up. He's going to have to be a little bit more consistent as far as that goes. But once again, it's a first game. These are things that Kevin can put on tape for our guys and say, hey, this is what we can't do moving forward. This is what got you burned, and then against a better quality opponent, this is going to cost you.
It's going to be a problem.
So I expect a big jump like you just saw from the first half to the second half, from the second half to the first game. Now, do you know, Jay, and I can't tell you, and I don't know if Brian's got eyes on it. Simpson looked like he tweaked his hamstring
He
at the
did.
end of the at the end of the game. I don't know what the severity is of that injury just yet. And then will Hall be eligible for the first half against Georgia, or we have to sit until the second half?
I think he should be good to go. It's one half of a suspension, right? Your suspension is one half, right?
I believe that's right, but I can't remember the rule.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it's one whole game, what it is exactly. But I'm hoping that because it occurred in the first half, that he'll be eligible for the first half against Georgia.
Yeah, I expect him to be out there against Georgia for sure. And I thought he was their best end for sure. Might have been their best defensive lineman prior to getting ejected, so they need him.
I think so too. I mean, I think Truesdale played really well.
He did.
I saw him inside make some moves, be able to take on a double team, shred it, shred the double team, and be able to make a play through it. He's not Derek Brown by any means, but I thought he played well. And I thought Colby held up better in his first game than I expected him to. He's obviously a little undersized. He's 285 playing defensive tackle. But I thought he played well with his hands. I thought for a first game, he did about as well as you can expect.
You talking about Colby Wooden?
Yep.
Yeah, he played a lot of snaps, too. I bet he played 50 snaps, 60 snaps.
I would bet so.
They must really trust him.
And like I said, as the game went on, you saw him be able to hold his gap a lot better. And once again, Jay, I mean, I think you guys talked about it on the rundown. That's a very veteran offensive line with two guys, I think, that were all SEC preseason, correct?
Yeah.
So it's not like you're going out there playing against, little sisters of the poor.
No.
We went out there and played some big boys. You held your gap in the first game, and you walked away with a 15-point victory. There are always things that you can improve on, but I don't think any Auburn fan should walk away from this feeling discouraged more than just, hey, there's some things that we can improve on moving into week 2.
What would you, just very quickly, I mean, letter grade, offense, what would you give?
Letter grade, I would give a B+ on the offense because I liked the innovation and I liked the play calls to get our best guys in space. And I like that we didn't show our hand too much. I don't think we deviated that much from what we've done in the past. I expect a lot more of crossing routes and involvement of the tight end in week 2. But I like the fact that we kept it a little bit vanilla from what we were trying to do just because we didn't want to overplay our hand. I mean, Georgia is going to be a statement game for us. The coaches have circled this one on the calendar. They're still pissed off from last year that we're basically a throw in the flat to Harold Joyner away from tying that football game up.
Yeah.
Not only is that a huge game from us from a momentum standpoint in this season, but from recruiting, because we got a lot of guys that we're battling with for Georgia. Smile Munden, Amarius Mims, a handful of other players that are going to be watching that game. They're going to have eyes on that game. And we want to make sure that we go out there and we have schematically an advantage if at all possible. So we didn't want to overplay what we were going to do today. And I like the fact that we were simplistic, but yet got our playmakers the ball. And then defensively, I like the adjustments that we made in the second half. And I like the fact that we turned the ball over. I mean, you got 3 turnovers in that game. You can't walk away from that not feeling good about the fact that we were able to force the football out of their hands.
Yeah. And a letter grade for the defense. I know you love the hitting, and I know you love the turnovers created.
I'm going to give it a B just because of the lack of a pass rush and the fact that it took us so long to kind of figure out what Eddie Graham was doing, even though he was very multiple in his formations.
True.
And Eddie called a beautiful game in the first half. I really thought he had us off balance, to be completely honest. And he's a veteran play caller, and he's a good football coach. But the fact that Kevin was able to adjust what he was doing in the second half, the fact that we were able to really, like you said, play physical, Jay. The hitting that was going on in the secondary, I thought was really, really good. I thought KJ had another solid game. I saw him make a couple bone-crushing hits. And so I was impressed from that standpoint that we were able to go in, work through that adversity. I can't give you a B+ or an A, but I would say a solid B for the defensive effort.
Anything else we need to discuss? Are there any recruiting stuff we need to get into at all?
I would say this. Next week is a huge week from us from a recruiting standpoint. I think obviously everybody's aware now that Amarius Mims was on campus last weekend visiting with Tank Bixby, which is huge for us. He's our number 1 tackle prospect on the board. We're probably sitting 2 at best, maybe 3 for him right now, competing with Georgia and Tennessee. And I know a lot of Auburn fans that are listening to this are going to cream and say, Mims is going to Georgia. Why are you even wasting your time? Well, guess what? You beat Georgia next week, maybe Sims is not going to Georgia. Mims is not going to Georgia. And that kid is a once-in-a-generation type left tackle, and that's what we need. I mean, I thought Alex Jackson played admirably today, and I was actually quite impressed with what he was able to do in his pass sets. But we need a guy that can come in. Jackson's only got 2 years left to play, so we need a guy that can come in and be able to contribute in the 2 deep right away, and he's huge. JaQuincy McKinstry, I'm still hearing good stuff there. I expect him probably to make a commitment in the next month or so, probably sometime in the month of October. And obviously Jeremiah Williams is going to be making his commitment on the 10th, and that's one to watch. I think Jay Lee's called it from jump. And look, there's been nobody that's been more plugged in, minus all the Twitter guys and everything else. There's been nobody that's more plugged in than Jay Lee on Jeremiah's recruitment from jump. He was the one that knew that Jeremiah was going to pick Florida until Al Poe got really involved. I thought Rodney and Al have done a phenomenal job on working the family, and I expect that to be a monster commitment for Auburn and our number one pass rusher that we've got on the board this year. So those are the things I would say to watch. And then obviously Smile Munden, who's still a top target for us. And then there's a guy off the beaten path that we've talked about some, but watch the name Trevin Wallace. He's having one of the best seasons, me and Jay just talked about him, of any linebacker prospect, period, in the state of Georgia. Plays in a very competitive South Georgia league down there. Very comparable athlete to Smile Munden. He just only played 4 games last year and really tore up his ankle, so he doesn't have the footage. But there are a lot of teams that are involved with him now. Oklahoma's involved. He's Will Muschamp's number one targeted inside linebacker right now. And I trust Will Muschamp's defensive evaluations as much or more than anybody. And then Oklahoma's involved with him, and Georgia's starting to get involved. I got a buddy that coaches high school football in Georgia, and he told me that Kirby's starting to really evaluate this kid. So that's another one for us to watch. He's currently committed to Boston College, but I don't expect him to sign there.
Yeah.
And he's one that could be intrigued at the outcome of this upcoming game.
All right, Jay, had another thick call from you. It's always just full of information, man.
Well, I love that you tee me up before we get started, JG. And once again, you guys do phenomenal work at Auburn Sports. Just getting us to this point, through the pandemic, and finally we've got SEC football. Was it a great product today? No, but it was enjoyable to watch. It's only going to get better. And I just want to give a shout out to all my friends in the bunker and say, hope to see you guys next week. Okay.
All right. See you, Jay Head.
See you, buddy.
There he is. Jay Head. Absolute badass. Great poster, great caller. Everything about him's awesome.